A very good day, dear students. In this video you shall learn about the basics of fabrication process, the different types of joining process, that is welding, the basics of welding, the basic essential different types of welding, the brazing process and the soldering process. Also you shall see about the various differences in all the three: welding, brazing and soldering process. So this shall cover a part of your fourth module of the subject elements of mechanical engineering. In this video we shall see about the process of transmission of power using belt drives and introduction to gear drives. As we know, power is generated at one location and is required to be transferred onto another location, which is done using the methods of power transmission. We shall see in this video the very basic type of power transmission using belt drive, then the derivations of open belt drive and closed belt drive. So this forms the part of your fourth module, power transmission. This is an example of power transmission using chain drive. So roller chain and sprocket is used here in a bicycle, which most of you have seen and most of you have used. So the same principle is used in the motor driven motor vehicles also. So transmission of power. Rotational motion can be transmitted from one mechanical element to another mechanical element with the help of a defined system, which is known as transmission system or transmission drive. So there are various types of methods of power transmission or various types of drives. There are belt drive, chain drive, gear drive, rope drive. So in your portion for first year of EME, you have only belt drive and gear drive. Chain drive and rope drive is not covered in your syllabus. So these two drives we shall see in detailed. So this is a typical example of belt drive. You have open belt drive and crossed belt drive or closed belt drive, like we say. On the right hand side you can see open belt drive. Most of you have seen the lathe. The driving part for the lathe consists of a belt drive, or else you can just check the driving system in your vehicle. You can just open the bonnet of your vehicle and just observe. You can see various belt drives are used for running the alternator, air conditioner, transmission system, fuel transmission system, etc. in your automobile or in your car. Okay. Various materials are used for belt. So the material used for manufacturing belt must be strong, they should be flexible, it should be very durable, it must have high coefficient of friction. Different materials used for manufacturing of belt include leather belt. So these are cut from the steer heights. There are cotton or fabric belts made by folding canvases to 3 or more layers and stitching together. Rubber belts are there, so layers of fabric impregnated with the rubber. Then balata belt. This is similar to rubber belt except that balata gum is used in place of rubber. So these are the various materials used in belt drives. So this is a typical example of open belt drive. It is employed when two parallel shafts have to rotate in the same direction. So the direction of rotation of both the shafts is same. Here you can see on the left hand side there are three pulleys Hence, three different speeds can be achieved between the driven and the driver. Whereas on the right hand side you have a single pulley. Hence, there is only one speed that can be achieved in the driving pulley and the driven pulley. So this is a typical example for open belt drive. So the open belt drive, when shafts are placed far apart, the lower side of the belt should be tight and the upper side should be the slack side. When the upper side becomes the slack side, it will sag due to its own weight and thus increases the arc of contact. It is always preferred that the lower side is the tight side and the upper side is the slack side. If the upper side is the slack side, the arc of contact will be more and hence the efficiency of the drive will be better. Here you can see the arc of contact or angle of contact or angle of flap. Diagrammatically it is shown the angle subtended by the arc of belt in contact with the pulley at the center is considered as the arc of contact. Other names for arc of contact are angle of contact and angle of lap. Just like open belt drive, we have cross belt drive. So this cross belt drive is employed when two parallel shafts have to rotate in the opposite direction. It is used to avoid excessive wear. The shafts should be placed at a maximum distance from each other and it has to be operated at a very low speeds. At junctions where the belt crosses, it rubs against each other, because of which there will be wear and tear of the belt drive. Here we shall derive the length of the belt drive in open belt system. You can see the schematic diagram of the belt drive. You can see the two pulleys, the driven and the driver. The distance between the two pulleys is defined as X, and you have pulley P on the left hand side, the larger one, pulley Q on the right hand side, the smaller one, which is connected using the open belt system. So the formula for this length is pi into r1 plus r2 plus 2 times x plus r1 minus r2 whole square divided by x, where r1 is the radius of the larger pulley and r2 is the radius of the smaller pulley. So length can be derived in the terms of radiuses of the two pulleys and the distance between the two pulleys. So thereby the radius for the two pulleys is known to us, the distance also can be decided. So the length can be derived from this. There will be no uncertainty in finding the length of the belt drive. So let P and Q be the two pulleys that are connected by open belt system. Let x be equal to the distance between the center of two pulleys, that is C1 and C2, and let R1 be the radius of the driver and R2 be the radius of the driven pulley. Let the driver be named as P and the driven pulley be named as Q respectively. You can refer the previous diagram, and it is better that you write down this diagram in the previous slide so that it is easier to understand the derivation that I am going to explain in this slide and the next slide. So if we want to find the length of the belt, we know that length of the belt is equal to 2 times the arc length BC plus CD plus arc length DE. You have to refer the previous diagram. You can just refer where the arc starts from B to C plus the length CD plus the arc length from D to E, and I am multiplying it by a factor of 2 because whatever length I have taken is half the length. So directly multiply by 2. Now arc length BC is nothing but phi plus pi by 2 into R1, and arc length DE is nothing but pi by 2 minus phi into R2. Okay. So considering R1 and R2 common, considering pi by 2 and phi common, I can reduce this equation further into 2 multiplied by pi by 2 into R1 plus R2 plus CD plus phi into R1 minus R2. Okay, you have to refer the diagram so that you understand this derivation, without which it will be difficult for you to understand this derivation. So from figure of triangle GC1 C2, we know that CD is equal to GC2, or cos phi is nothing but GC2 divided by C1 C2, or in other words CD is equal to GC2, which is nothing but C1 C2 cos phi, or C1 C2 is nothing but X, so X cos phi. Let this be the second equation. Now from triangle GC1 C2, we know that sin phi is equal to GC1 by C1 C2, that is nothing but R1 minus R2 divided by X. We know that cos square phi plus sin square phi is equal to 1, or cos phi is equal to root of 1 minus sin square phi, that is nothing but equal to 1 minus sin square phi whole to the power half. So GC1 C2 is equal to CC1 minus GC, that is equal to R1 minus R2, and sin phi can be reduced further to R1 minus R2 divided by X. Now for smaller values of phi and ignoring the higher expressions, we can get phi is equal to R1 minus R2 divided by X. Let this be the third equation. So we have equation 1, 2 and 3. Now after applying the binomial theorem and neglecting the higher order terms, we get 1 minus sin square phi whole to the power half, or in other words square root of 1 minus sin square phi is equal to 1 minus R1 R2 divided by X whole power 2. So this be the fourth equation. Now substituting equation 2, 3, 4 in equation 1, we get L is equal to 2 into R1 plus R2 into pi by 2 plus X into 1 minus half R1 minus R2 divided by X whole power square plus R1 minus R2 divided by X into R1 minus R2. Or in other words, we can further reduce the length of the belt to be L is equal to pi into R1 plus R2 plus 2 times X plus R1 minus R2 whole to the power square divided by X. So this is the expression for the open belt drive. This is the expression for the open belt drive. So now let us derive the equation for the crossed belt drive. You can see the crossed belt drive in the figure above. This is the front view of the crossed belt drive. We will be deriving the length, which is equal to pi into R1 plus R2 plus 2 times X plus R1 plus R2 whole square divided by X. So this derivation we shall be deriving at now. So let P and Q be the two pulleys that are connected by crossed belt drive. Let X be equal to the distance between the centers of two pulleys C1 and C2. Let R1 and R2 be the radius of the driver P and the driven pulley Q respectively. The length of the belt is equal to 2 times arc length BC plus CD plus arc length DE, or 2 times phi into pi by 2 R1 plus CD plus pi by 2 plus phi into R2, or in other words, taking the R common, we will get 2 times pi by 2 into R1 plus R2 plus phi into R1 plus R2 plus CD. Let this be equation 1. Now let us derive or deduce the expression for CD. So from triangle GC1C2, CD is nothing but GC2, or cos phi is equal to GC2 divided by C1C2, or CD is equal to GC2, which is equal to C1C2 cos phi, that is equal to X cos phi. Let this be equation 2. From the triangle GC1C2, we know that sin phi is equal to GC1 by C1C2, which is nothing but R1 plus R2 divided by X. Also, we know that cos square phi plus sin square phi is equal to 1. Hence, cos phi is equal to root of 1 minus sin square phi, that is equal to 1 minus sin square phi whole to the power half. Or GC1 is equal to C1 plus GC, that is equal to R1 plus R2. And sin phi is equal to R1 plus R2 divided by X. And very small values of phi, we can reduce it to R1 plus R2 divided by X. Phi can be reduced to R1 plus R2 divided by X. Now 1 minus sin square phi whole to the power half can be reduced using the binomial theorem and neglecting the higher order terms to 1 minus half R1 plus R2 by X whole power 2. So substituting this equation 4, 3, 2 in equation 1, we get L is equal to pi into R1 plus R2 plus 2 times X into 1 minus half R1 plus R2 divided by X whole square plus 2 into R1 plus R2 divided by X into R1 plus R2. Thereby we can remove the common terms and get L is equal to pi into R1 plus R2 plus 2 times X plus R1 plus R2 whole square divided by X. This becomes the equation for the crossed belt drive. So the velocity ratio of the belt drive is defined as the ratio of speed of the driven pulley to the speed of the driving pulley. So expression for the velocity ratio can be derived. Consider d1 be the diameter of the driving pulley and d2 the diameter of the driven pulley. Similarly, n1 is the speed of the driving pulley and n2 is the speed of the driven pulley in RPM. If there is no slip between the pulley and the portion of the belt which is in contact with them, the speed at every point of the belt should be same. In that case, we can deduce the linear velocity at all the locations to be same. We shall see this in the next slide. So considering the linear velocity to be same, or the circumferential speed of the driving pulley and the driven pulley are equal, we can deduce that pi d1 n1 is equal to pi d2 n2. Since pi is the common factor, we will be removing pi on both the sides of the equation. So we get d1 n1 is equal to d2 n2, or in other words, n2 by n1, that is the velocity ratio, is equal to d1 by d2. So the speed is inversely proportional to the diameter. If the diameter is higher, the speed will be lower. If the diameter is smaller, the speed will be higher. So the velocity ratio is equal to speed of the driven pulley divided by the speed of the driving pulley, which is equal to diameter of the driving pulley divided by the diameter of the driven pulley. Next is the derivation for the ratio of tension in the flat belt drive. So consider a small portion in the belt drive, del theta. So this is the driven pulley that is shown in the diagram. The small portion del theta and the part CAB has been removed and shown on the right side. We can see the resolution of forces. The forces are responsible for keeping the part in equilibrium with each other. So we have reaction force R, we have a tensile force that is acting T and T plus delta T on the other side. Now we shall resolve these forces in x and y axis. So the element AB is in equilibrium under the action of the forces. So slack side tension T is acting in A direction, tight side tension T plus delta T is acting in B direction, and there is a normal reaction R and frictional force mu R acting perpendicular to the normal reaction R. So all these are shown in the figure on the right hand side. Now we shall resolve these forces using sine and cosine in x and y axis. We are resolving the forces. The polygon of forces acting on the element can be represented by the closed quadrilateral as shown in this figure on the right hand side of this slide. So resolving all the forces, we get in the direction of R, we get R is equal to tension T into sine del theta by 2 plus T plus delta T into sine del theta by 2. Now bringing the common terms, so 2T sine del theta by 2 plus delta T sine del theta by 2. For smaller angles, we can assume two things, that is sine del theta by 2 is equal to del theta by 2, and the product of del T into del theta by 2 can be neglected. Hence R is equal to 2T into del theta by 2, or in other words R is equal to T into del theta. Let this be equation 1. Now again resolving all the forces perpendicular to the direction R, we get mu R is equal to T plus del T cos del theta by 2 minus T cos del theta by 2. So T cos del theta by 2 plus del T cos del theta by 2 minus T cos del theta by 2. Removing the common terms, we get del T into cos del theta by 2. For very small angles, cos del theta by 2 can be considered equal to 1, since cos 0 can be considered equal to 1. So if del theta is a small value, then we can consider cosine del theta by 2 is equal to 1. Hence mu R will be equal to del T. Now substituting the second equation in first equation, we get mu T into del T is equal to mu T del theta is equal to del T, or del T by T is equal to mu into del theta. Now integrating this equation, we shall integrate this equation in the next slide. Now integrating this equation from T2 tension T2 to T1 and theta from 0 to theta, we get log E T1 by T2 is equal to mu theta, or T1 by T2 is equal to e power mu theta, where theta is nothing but the angle of contact and mu is the coefficient of friction. So this gives the ratio of tension in the belt drive. So we can observe clearly that ratio of tension is dependent on the coefficient of friction, or in other words the material of the belt and the angle of contact. Now further reducing the previous equation by using logarithmic basis, we get log T1 by T2 is equal to 0.4343 mu theta. So far the velocity ratio that we derived holds good if the thickness of the belt is negligible, but normally that is not the case. There will be certain thickness to the belt. So when thickness of the belt is considerable, the circumferential speed should also be considered. So the mean speed reckoned at the center of the belt thickness can be calculated by the following method. So linear speed is equal to the circumferential speed of the driving pulley, which is in turn equal to the circumferential speed of the driven pulley. So now considering the thickness T, we know that pi d n. So to the diameter d, we have to add the thickness on either sides, which becomes t by 2 on one side and t by 2 on the other side. So adding the thickness, we get pi d1 plus t into n1 is equal to pi d2 plus t into n2, or d1 plus t into n1 is equal to d2 plus t into n2, or in other words, velocity ratio is equal to d1 plus t divided by d2 plus t. So the next part is slip in the belt drive. Slip mainly occurs when the difference between tension in the tight side and the slack side is very large, or when the coefficient of friction between the belt and pulley decreases owing to stretching of the belt, or when the smoothness of the pulley surface is more, due to various such reasons. So the effect of slip on the velocity ratio will be seen in the slide, and we shall try to mathematically formulate it. So the slip is expressed as the percentage of speed. So S1 is the percentage of slip between the driving pulley and the belt, and S2 is the percentage of slip between the driven pulley and the belt. Then the total slip between the belt and the pulley system will be S1 plus S2. S is equal to S1 plus S2. So the circumferential speed of the driving pulley is pi d1 n1. So considering the percentage slip S1 between the driving pulley and the belt passing over it, we will get reduced linear speed of the belt because of the slip. That is, S1 is equal to pi d1 n1 into 100 minus S1 divided by 100. So the circumferential speed of the belt on the driven pulley when slip S2 occurs between the belt and its rim is given by the formula pi d1 n1 is equal to speed of the belt on the driven pulley multiplied by 100 minus S2 divided by 100. So from triangle GC1C2, CD is nothing but GC2, or cos phi is equal to GC2 divided by C1C2, or CD is equal to GC2, which is equal to C1C2 cos phi, that is equal to x cos phi. Let this be equation 2. From the triangle GC1C2, we know that sin phi is equal to GC1 by C1C2, which is nothing but R1 plus R2 divided by x. Also, we know that cos square phi plus sin square phi is equal to 1. Hence, cos phi is equal to root of 1 minus sin square phi, that is. So, pi d1 n1 into 100 minus s1 plus s2 divided by 100. Similarly, for pi d2 n2, we get the expression for ratio of speed n2 by n1 is equal to d1 by d2 into 100 minus s by 100, and if the thickness of the belt is taken, it is further to be added to the diameter. So d1 plus t divided by d2 plus t into 100 minus s by 100. So next one is power transmitted by a belt drive. So the driven pulley rotates because of the difference in tensions in the tight side and the slack side of the belt. Therefore, the force causing the rotation is the difference between the two tensions. If velocity is represented by V for the belt in meters per minute, and T1 and T2 are the two tensions on the tight side and the slack side of the belt, it is expressed in newtons, then work transmitted per second can be expressed as T1 minus T2 into V divided by 60 into 1000 kilowatts. So this is the expression for power transmitted by the belt drive. So initial tension in the belt drive, it is the tension that is existing before the starting of the drive, when the drive is not in motion. It can be considered as the average of T1 and T2. Hence it is given by the formula T0 is equal to T1 plus T2 divided by 2. Here you can see the arc of contact or angle of contact or angle of flap Diagrammatically it is shown the angle subtended by the arc of belt in contact with the pulley at the center is considered as the arc of contact. Other names for arc of contact are angle of contact and angle of lap. This is an example for toothed belt or timing belt drive. So this can be used to prevent creep, plus for getting the exact rotational power between the two pulleys. So the advantages of tooth belt or timing belt drive is it provides compact, resilient and synchronous transmission. In the sense there is no loss of power. No slippage between the belt drive and the pulley, hence power transmitted is more efficient. High torque carrying capacity due to better gripping power between the belt and the pulleys. Power transmitted at constant speed. No creep in the belt, less noise, less vibration. Weight savings in belt and pulley. No lubrication is required. But fairly it has certain disadvantages also. It is complex in design. So the belt design, pulley design is bit complicated. It requires accurate alignment of the belt with the pulley for efficient and reliable operation. Its manufacturing cost is high. Next is V belt. You can see the diagram of the V belt. It goes and sits in the groove in the pulley. So it is more efficient since it has a more surface area that grips the pulley and better surface contact. Hence it is much efficient than the flat belt drive. So the advantages of V belt drive is it transmits more power. Slip between the belt drive and the pulley is negligible or absent. It can be used to transmit power for short distances. It has high velocity ratio and high velocity ratio can be obtained. Operation is smooth and quiet. Shaft axis is horizontal or it can be vertical or inclined. Since V belts are made endless, there is no joint trouble in V belt. Similarly, there are certain disadvantages also. It is not suitable for large center distances. V belt are endless and also pulley has to be provided with grooves. Hence construction of the belt and pulley becomes a bit complicated. The next topic is gear drives. So the transmission of power or motion from one shaft to another shaft by means of gear is called as a gear drive. So gear mounted on the shaft to which power source is connected is called as a driver gear, and the gear on which the driven is called as the driven gear. So the functions, it increases or decreases the speed of motion. It is used to move rotational motion to different axes, to reverse the direction of motion or direction of rotation, to keep the rotation of the two axes synchronous or in the same line. We have different types of gears. This is the spur gear. You can see the diagram and the 3D view of the spur gear. Here it has straight teeth and shafts can be placed one above the other, just like the driven and the driver gear. We have bevel gears. These can be used when the axes of the two shafts are perpendicular to each other or they are at 90 degrees to each other. We can see the driven shaft and the driving shaft. Both are at 90 degrees to each other. This is an example for bevel gear. The next is spiral bevel gear. You can see here. These are also at an angle perpendicular to each other, but the teeth are spherical. So the contact will not be a line contact, it will be a point contact in this case. So here you can see helical bevel gear, just like spur gear. The teeth are helical. Okay, so the driver and driven gear are parallel to each other, but the teeth of the gears are in the form of an helix. So the contact again will not be in a straight line, it will be a point contact. So this is a worm gear used to transfer rotational motion to uh, translational motion or vertical motion, or to transfer the motion in two different axes. A typical example with the diagram is shown here. This is the rack and pinion gear. So here shaft revolves whereas the pinion moves to and fro. So this rotational motion is converted to horizontal or longitudinal motion. So the advantages of gear drive. Gear drives can be used to transmit power or motion between parallel and non-parallel, intersecting and non-intersecting shafts. Gear drives are preferred when center distance between the two shafts is very small. Power can be transmitted with constant speed ratio. High power transmission efficiency can be achieved. It can be used for low, medium and high power transmissions. We shall see about the disadvantages of the gear drives in the next slide. So these are the disadvantages of the gear drives. They are not suitable when center distance is large, when lubrication is required, when the cost of production of gear is high, when noise and vibration is a major problem when they rotate at high speeds. It also has a disadvantage. Damage to single teeth of a gear will affect the whole system or the whole arrangement. So these are the typical disadvantages of the gears. Some of the comparison between belt drive and gear drives. So belt drive is a non-positive drive, since there is a reduction in the power that is transmitted from the driver to the driven, whereas gear drives are positive drives. There is no loss of power. Efficient when center distance between the two shafts is very huge. Belt drives are efficient when the distance between the two shafts is very huge. Gear drives are efficient when the center distance between the two shafts is very small. Belt drives are used to transmit power between two parallel shafts, whereas gear drives are used to transmit power between parallel, non-parallel, intersecting and non-intersecting shafts. In belt drives, due to slip, exact velocity ratio cannot be maintained, whereas in gear, due to the absence of slip, constant velocity ratio can be maintained. Belt drives are used for moderate power transmission, whereas gear drives can be used for low power transmission, medium power transmission and high power transmission. Only low power transmission efficiency is better in belt drive. High power transmission efficiency is better in gear drives. Lubrication is not required for belt drives, but for gear drives lubrication is required. It is very necessary to provide lubrication. So the velocity ratio of the gear drive can be obtained in the similar fashion as of the belt drive. So velocity ratio N2 by N1 is equal to D1 by D2. So the speed is inversely proportional to the diameter. We have different types of gears. This is the spur gear. You can see the diagram and the 3D view of the spur gear. Here it has straight teeth, and shafts can be placed one above the other, just like the driven and the driver gear. So this is a simple example for a simple gear train. You can see driver gear and the driven gear, 3 gears ABC. So each gear wheel is mounted on an independent shaft and 2 gears are on the same shaft. So if A is the driver gear, C is the driven gear and B is the intermediate gear, then the velocity ratio NC by NA is equal to NC by NB into NB by NA, or in other words, the velocity ratio NC by NA can be obtained in terms of the number of teeth on the driver and the driven gear train. That is equal to NC by NA is equal to TA by TC. In the previous slide, in the derivation, the negative sign indicates that the gears are in mesh, rotate in opposite directions, and positive sign indicates that the gears are in the same direction. From the velocity ratio, we can see that the size of the intermediate gear has no effect on the velocity ratio at all. So the presence of intermediate gears determine the direction of rotation of the driven gear with respect to the driving gear. So there is only the intermediate gear only affects the direction, it never affects the speed. If there are odd number of intermediate gears, then the driver and the driven rotate in the same direction, and if there are even number of intermediate gears, the driver and the driven rotate in the opposite direction to each other. Next is compound gear train. In this type of arrangement, more than one gear is mounted on the same shaft. So you can see here, gear A is the driver, gear D is the driven gear, and intermediate gears B and C are mounted on the same shaft. So gear A meshes with the gear B and gear D meshes with gear C. So on the single shaft, both B and C are present. We shall see the formula for the compound gear train in the next slide. So the compound gear train, we can get the derivation for velocity ratio. Nd by Na is equal to Nd by Nc into Nc by Nb into Nb by Na. Now putting the values for Nd by Nc is equal to Tc by Td and Nc by Nb is equal to 1. We get Nb by Na is equal to Ta by Tb. Therefore, Nd by Na is equal to Nd by Nc into Nc by Nb into Nb by Na, that is equal to Tc by Td into 1 into Ta by Tb, that is equal to Ta into Tc divided by Tb into Td. So the effect of the intermediate gear is clearly visible in this formula. So with this video, we complete your module 4 and the transmission of power module part of this fourth module is also completed with this video. Thank you.